رسول سلام عليك يا
How's everybody doing today? Sit here so I can see you. Right, before we begin, the two reminders that I always remind myself and all of you is what? Yes, this is not a very long halaqa. Yeah, and then we can go play in the gym now. Then we go play in the gym. So let's focus and not talk. Let's learn something new. Besides, we are talking about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So let's show him respect by paying attention when we hear about him. And one of the ways we show him respect is saying what? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam anytime we mention his name. Sounds like a plan?
Yes.
Can we focus on us? Yes? No talking? You really want to hide, huh? Come here, man, so I can see you. Yes, there we go. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. طيب, anybody remember where we stopped last week? What did we talk about last week? Ibrahim, do you remember? Remember we talked about the Battle of Badr and it finished?
Oh yeah.
Right? And the Muslims came back to Medina. So what did we talk about?
The wife of Ruqayya,
The wife of Uthman, radiallahu anhu, and her name was? Ruqayya. And who is she? She's the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What happened with her? She passed away. So Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, let's all sit down, did not attend the Battle of Badr because Ruqayya radiallahu anha was really sick, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and she passed away. And as the Muslims were coming back to Medina, Uthman radiallahu anhu was in the graveyard burying her and putting her in the ground. So this is one of the happiest days for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it was also one of the saddest days as well. We also talked about how they were prisoners of war. When the Muslims won the Battle of Badr, they captured just over 70 prisoners, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took the advice of which Sahabi? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, because his advice was, be gentle and be lenient. Be gentle and lenient on the prisoners, and let's release them. Their families and their friends can come and pay some money, and then they can go back to their own homes. And that's exactly what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did. طيب, today there's two stories I want to talk about, and they both happened almost immediately right after the Battle of Uhud. Uhud? What battle would you? Yeah, Battle of Badr. Thank you for paying attention. After the Battle of Badr, the first one was one of the first assassination attempts, and the first one that happened in Medina. What does an assassination attempt? What does that mean?
killing.
Yeah, so like they tried to kill the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So after the battle was done, two men in Mecca, so from the people of Quraysh. One of them, his name is Safwan ibn Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Right?
I thought it's called Sufyan
Sufyan.
in the movie. It said Sufyan.
We're not talking about the movie. Let's not focus about the movie. Okay? طيب? So, Safwan, his father and his brother were both killed in the Battle of Badr. And Safwan was sitting with his cousin, Umayr. And Safwan was really frustrated, and he was talking about how this man Muhammad was causing them such a hard time and giving them problems, and how they were very tired of this man Muhammad. So Umayr And Umayr is another man from the people of Quraysh. And his son, Amani, تعالي هنا. And Umayr, his son, was also captured during the Battle of Badr. So they were sitting and talking together. And Safwan was really frustrated. So the two people from Quraysh, what were their names? Safwan and Umayr. So they were sitting down and they were talking and they were very frustrated, especially Safwan, because who died from his family? His dad. And what was the name of his dad? Umayyah ibn Khalaf. He was a very evil man. So he died and his brother also died. So he was frustrated and he was complaining to Umayr. So Umayr said, you know what? If I didn't have a family to take care of and to spend on them and kids to raise, I would have gone and killed this man Muhammad. So Safwan thought to himself, you know what? If that's all it takes, or Umayr, I will take care of your wife and kids, and I will spend on them, and I will give them money. And I will give them money. If that's all it will take, you should go and you should do it and kill him. So Umayr said, you know what? If you take care of my family and my wife and my kids, I will do it. So Safwan said, yeah, I'll do it. So Umayr told his cousin, let's keep this quiet. Don't tell anybody that I'm going to go to Medina and kill this man, Muhammad. And he rushed home very quickly, got out his sword, he sharpened his sword, he put poison on the sword, and he traveled very, very, very quickly to Medina. And as soon as he got close to Medina, he covered his face, right? He only had his eyes exposed like a traveler. You know, there's dirt and there's sand and he's in the desert and he's entering the city, so he covered his face and he was carrying his sword with him. And he entered Medina. And he was walking through Medina, and you know who saw him? Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. But his face was covered. However, Umar ibn al-Khattab looked at his eyes and he knew who he was. And he went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the masjid. And he told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam who he saw. And he said, you know what? I saw Umayr. And I saw his eyes, and he looked like he had an evil intention. He's about to do something evil. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam told Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, call Umayr to the masjid so that we can sit and talk with him, see what's going on. But make sure that you're armed so that you can protect me if anything happens. So Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he goes to Umayr and he said, oh Umayr, come. Let's go sit with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Umayr thought to himself, this is fantastic. I'm here looking for this man Muhammad, and they're going to take me all the way to this man Muhammad, and we're going to be sitting with him. This is what I want. It's going to be very easy for me to kill him. So he goes with Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he sits right in front of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then he sits in front of him. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, why are you here, O Umayr? What is your plans? So Umayr said, as you know, my son has been captured and he's a prisoner with you right now. So I came here to negotiate the price so I can pay and have him released. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he looked at him and he said, come on now, what is the true reason behind why you're here? He said, no, truly, I am here to negotiate the price to release my son because he has been captured by war. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told him, rather, you and Safwan, your cousin, you were sitting together, and he mentioned to you how he lost his father and he lost his brother in the Battle of Badr. And you said, were it not for the fact that you have a wife and kids and you have to spend on them and help them, you would go to Medina and kill this man named Mohammed. And your cousin Safwan, he told you that he would take care of your wife and your kids, and then you agreed to come to Medina and to kill me, and because Safwan would take care of your debts and cover and pay the money that you owe to people. And that's why you're here to kill me. So Umayr was extremely shocked. Why was he shocked?
Because he knew.
Because did he tell everybody? Who knew that he was coming to kill this man, Muhammad? Only one man. And what was this man's name? Safwan. And then Umayr traveled very quickly from Mecca to Medina, which means even if Safwan told people, no one could travel to Medina that quickly to tell Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam of the plan to kill him. So at that point, Umayr knew that this man in front of him had to be a messenger of Allah. And then he said, right away, at that moment he said, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and you are his messenger. So he became a Muslim. He came from Mecca to do what? To kill him. And he sat in front of him and his intention was to do what? To kill him. And now what did he do? He became a Muslim. And he told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, O Prophet of Allah, just like I was torturing the Muslims, and just like I was opposed to this message of Islam, give me permission to go back to Mecca to call the people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One moment he was one of the worst enemies of Islam, and now he is a Muslim and wants to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave him permission, and Umayr traveled back where, ya Aisha? Are we paying attention? So Umayr traveled back to Mecca, and when he got back to Mecca and he met with his cousin Safwan, and when he found out that he was a Muslim, Safwan decided not to talk with him and to ignore him, and that's it. And Umayr called the people in Mecca to Islam, and some of the people in Mecca did convert and they became Muslims on the hand of Umayr radiallahu anh. And then Umayr radiallahu anh came back and migrated to Medina. As for his cousin Safwan, he stayed with the people of Mecca until the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conquered Mecca, and his cousin Umayr finally convinced him to come and sit with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and become a Muslim, and both of them became a Muslim. So look at that. Two men that conspired to kill our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have now converted to Islam and became Muslims. They both became Muslim. Umayr became Muslim right away because he is the one that went to Medina and tried the assassination, to assassinate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Safwan only became a Muslim many years later when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam conquered Mecca, and Umayr convinced him at the time to come and accept Islam. So that is the story of the first assassination attempt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. Now the second story that I want to mention, let's leave the questions to the end, okay? Hold on to your question, remember it. Sounds good? طيب. The second story that I want to mention happened 3 or 3.5 weeks after the Battle of Badr. Now, we mentioned that there are 3 tribes, Jewish tribes in Medina. What are the 3 Jewish tribes? Does anybody know their names?
I don't want to know people. One of them was Banu.
One of them is not named Banu. I'll give you hints. One of them is Banu Qaynuqa, Banu El-Najjar, and Banu.
I don't know the name, but is it? I don't know the name. Like I know how it sounds like, but I just don't know the name.
طيب. So the 3 tribes are called Banu Qurayza, Banu Nadir, and Banu Qaynuqa. And of course, because these are Jewish people and now we have Muslims in Medina, so there has been a lot of problems between the Muslims and the Jews. The first incident that happened between the Muslims and the tribe that is known as Banu Qaynuqa, and it was the biggest of the 3 tribes. And they were showing hostility towards the Muslims. Hostility means that they would cause problems, almost like enemies. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to their souk, and he reminded them. He said, "Remember when I came to Medina, we made a treaty, and the treaty is you protect us, we protect you against a common enemy outside of Medina. So we need to work together. So we need to calm down." The Banu Qaynuqa, they were a big tribe. They had 700 people that are fighters in their army. So they were very rebellious. They were very confident in the fact that we can win against the Muslims, and the Muslims have no power against us. So they had a lot of problems. And then one major problem took place that caused the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to gather an army and move against them. And what happened? What happened was one of the Muslim ladies went to the souk, the marketplace that belonged to Banu Qaynuqa. And when she was buying and selling, she was sitting down. Some of the Jewish men, they decided to do something that was very vile and very evil. They tied her dress to the chair, and when she finished and she came to stand up, she stood up, but her dress fell down. And now she became exposed in the marketplace. And the Jewish men saw her and they began to laugh, and she began to yell for help.
Was she naked?
She was partially naked and she was exposed. As you know, our Muslim sisters, they cover up completely. So even if a little bit of her was exposed, is that nice?
No.
Is that proper? No. And some of her, or some of her was exposed. And when she began to yell for help, there was a Muslim man in the market and he saw this. So he pulled out his sword and he attacked and killed the man that caused his Muslim sister to be exposed. So the Jewish people in the area, they attacked this Muslim man and they killed him. So when this news came back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gathered an army. He first sent a message to the people of Banu Qaynuqa telling them that the treaty that we have with you has been broken. You guys broke the treaty by doing what you did. And he moved with an army against the people of Banu Qaynuqa. Now,
How many people were in the army?
I don't know. It's just a group of Muslims that were big enough to surround the people, the tribe of Banu Qaynuqa. And the people of Banu Qaynuqa, when they heard, they went back into their castle, which was fortified, and they hid inside the castle. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam surrounded their castle for half a month. And he cut off their supplies so the water and the food was not entering their homes and their castle. And after 15 days, they surrendered to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when they surrendered, the people of Banu Qaynuqa, they had an ally, they had a man that would support them and help them from the Khazraj. Khazraj now are Muslim, right? They are from the Ansar, are they not?
Yes.
We talked about Al-Khazraj and the...
Ansar. No.
You have, what are the two tribes of the Ansar? Al-Aws wal Khazraj. So their ally and the person that always helped them and supported them was from the Khazraj, and his name was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Has anybody come across that name before? Yeah. Who was that man?
He was a hypocrite.
He was the leader of the hypocrite. Do you guys remember? Last week we talked about the hypocrites.
But was his son a Muslim?
His son was a Muslim, ahsan, and we will talk about him in another halaqah. But ahsan, barakallahu fi. But Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul was a hypocrite. Can anybody remind me, what is a hypocrite? Ahsan. So after the Battle of Badr, this is, as we mentioned, a phenomena that began to exist in Medina. The people that used to worship idols, they became Muslim on the outside, but inside their hearts, are they Muslim?
No.
They are not. Now,
Traders.
go, yes.
Traders?
What is their name? Munafiqun, ahsanti. So he was the leader of the Munafiqun. Now,
This is the question of the assassination.
but ask it.
But isn't the last guy, when Adam's sons, when one killed one, was that the first assassination?
Was that in Medina? Say that again?
It was because you know Prophet Adam, right?
No, we're talking about the first assassination attempt of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina.
Okay.
طيب. So he was the leader of the Munafiqun. So do you think he supports the Muslims, or would he support his allies, Banu Qaynuqa? He would support his allies. So he went to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, show kindness to my allies, O Muhammad. Is that how you call? Is that how we refer to our Prophet, O Muhammad? No. So our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was quiet. So he said again, show kindness to my allies, O Muhammad. Nothing. Show kindness to my allies, O Muhammad. There's 700 people. I'm just telling you what he was saying, right? He was referring to his prophet as O Muhammad. Is that showing respect? No. And you know what he did? He went and he grabbed his armor. He grabbed it and he started shaking the armor of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, show kindness to my allies. They helped me and they supported me. Show kindness to my allies. Leave them to me. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was already getting angry. And then he said, you know what? They're all yours. You can do with them. I'm going to free them for you. But they need to vacate Medina. They're being kicked out of Medina. 3 days they have and they need to leave Medina. And sure enough, after 3 days, they collected their wealth and they collected their money, everything they can carry, and they loaded up their camels and their horses as heavy as they can, and they left Medina. Now there used to be 3 tribes in Medina, of Jewish tribe. How many there are now? 2. So Banu Qaynuqa left. Can anybody remember the name of the other 2 tribes? Banu Qaynuqa and Banu Nadir. So of the 3 tribes, one of them has been exiled and kicked out for good reason. They did something evil and vile to one of our sisters and then killed the man that supported her. And finally, so the Prophet ﷺ had every right to kick them out of Medina. And now there are 2 tribes that remain in Medina from the Jews. طيب. These are the 2 incidents that I wanted to talk about today. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Now.
Did they ever return?
Now?
Did they ever return?
They did not return. They left Medina and they went to an area called Khaybar. And inshallah, in the next few weeks when we... Huh?
That's another battle.
Yes. Yeah, the Battle of Khaybar. So when all of the Jewish people, when they left, and there was another tribe that we're going to talk about, they also went to Khaybar. Right? And they all congregated in Khaybar. Now.
In the battle where they built the trench and all the bad guys were...
Inshallah, we will talk about it when we get to it.
Were the ones that the Jews tried to kick out also there?
So there was one more tribe left in Medina, and inshallah we'll talk about it when we get there. No spoilers. Now.
I know the name of the battle that had the trench.
What's his name?
The battle of Khandaq.
Ahsanti, and inshallah we will talk about it when we get to it. One more question, Ibrahim.
Were we not talking about the battle of Uhud?
We will get to the Battle of Uhud, inshallah. If not next week, the week after that. طيب وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. بارك الله.
Let's go.